All right, everybody. This is Casey Lewis here, and I'm starting up just a couple of minutes early, only because I've noticed in the past the video sometimes takes a minute or so to get going. If we really look at over here, um, if you look in the comments, you'll start to see, and this is what I really wanted to do with this meeting today, using this product of Streamyard. That's what I'm actually using. But you'll see these comments come in and I can show them. These can be questions as well. And so essentially, I'll just say hello to everybody. I'll give it about, I'll just chat here for about a minute and then we'll get started. We registered 50. So that usually means out of 50, you're going to probably get about 25 that actually make it. That's usually what we see is about half of the people that register end up actually making it. We'll send out videos to everybody. We'll also post this on YouTube as well. But let me tell you a little bit about what I'm trying to accomplish today. So we've done many of these workshops in the past. And what I have found is that I tend, me personally, to pack too much into it. And as a result of that, it becomes too complicated and it's too much information, too much stuff to absorb in one, say, hour-long session. So today, what I'm going to really try to do is we're going to go up at a high level, really look down at 2026 and really talk about how can we put together a very, very organized plan to grow our business at the scale we want. Now, I've run the sort of the promo on this has been all about, building a seven-figure or a $1 million plus pest control company. And I didn't want that to be so literal that all of you thought, okay, that's the only goal. If you're happy at 500,000 or 250,000, you want to continue to be a smaller organization, that's fine. If in fact you actually are looking to say you're already a substantial player and what you want to do is to be able to grow and add $1 million increments or new routes to an already existing larger company, that is okay too. All of this that we're going to talk about today is really designed. Hold on a second. Can you send us? Yes, I absolutely will, Tanya. I will absolutely send um, the link to this to everybody. There's also going to be a few. There's a worksheet that I've got the link set up here so that you can use that as we're going through this. If you don't have or can't access a Google Sheet and you need a Microsoft Excel copy of the file, let me know that as well, and I'll have to email that over to you. But I think you'll get an idea when we get to the worksheet. But getting back um, to what I was talking about here in terms of too much information, um, the internet, our podcast, other podcasts, ads all over Facebook and LinkedIn are full of do this, do that. We're going to get you on the first page. We're going to get you 400 leads in 10 minutes. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. Um, this is not about that. Okay. That is what it is. Most of the people that are making all of these claims are doing so. Well, I don't even know. I don't know why you're making claims like that that just set you up for failure. What we'll talk about today is really so if you think of it this way, this meeting today, think of all of you that are there and are here meeting with us today. And then all of you were to hire me as an employee to be your marketing slash sales director. And you're going to pay me a salary and then we're going to work together. And I am going to need to know from you, what is it you want me to do? What are my job duties? What are my expectations? What's going to make you happy? What's going to get me fired? How are we going to live together? And then you're going to come in at some point and say to me, okay, look, we need to grow by 20%. I want to get 500 new customers. I wanted this, I wanted that. And if you did that, if you came to me and said, hey, here's just blanket what I want, I'm going to then go back and I'm going to sit down with a pencil and I'm going to try to figure out, okay, what is it going to take me to achieve those goals that you've set for me? How much of a budget do I need from you in order to make that happen? Because it's not going to happen for free. And then to basically evaluate that and say, um, it's realistic, that should be no problem, or you know what, you're probably delirious here. And that, in fact, is what creates the synergy initially between an employee and or an agency and or a person that you're going to bring in to get these things done for you. So I'm not going to spend all my time today explaining to you what those things are. We're not going to talk about, what the code is on the back end of a website to have good SEO index with Google. I mean, we're not going to get down in those weeds. Anyway, so does that make sense? Does that look good for all of you? Can you throw some comments in there and let me know, just because I want to see how this all works. I like this. I'll put them up. And if you have any questions right now from me, or if that sounds good, let me know, because I want to make sure that I've got you all dialed in here, that you can use the comments. There's also a private chat bar, and let me know if you can get to that as well, so that you can see the link I put in there, so that you can be able to access. Don't access it yet, just kind of hang with me. Good. Okay, so I'm seeing what everybody's saying, and this is good. Um, I'm happy so far. So I'm coming to you live from Las Vegas. I'm actually in a sort of the back office in one of my rooms in my house. And I do that because I have like a little studio set up in here that I use for my podcast I do weekly. There's also a 40-inch monitor up here on the wall, and the camera's right here. So if you see me doing this sometimes, I apologize. I'm actually looking up at the big wall to make sure I've got everything done. So let's jump into this, and I'm going to walk you through some slide pages. I'm not a big slide guy, and so I don't like to use slides too much, other than it keeps me on track, because I tend to bounce and talk too much, and we want to get this done in really about 60 minutes, or I know I'll start to lose all of you. So let me get this up here. And let me just start by asking, can you see that okay? Is that going to work for you? And I'm going to welcome you to what we're going to call our pest control business plan for 2026. We do this once a year. Okay, got you guys. Sorry. This is going to be a trip for me. So I'm trying to concentrate and do my presentation. And I'm over here and I'm seeing these questions and things rolling through. And so it's going to be kind of a trip. But okay, you don't see the private chat, so that's on. So what I'll do, shoot, let me see. Doggone it. Well, I'll have to walk through this, and it might even be better if I just walk through the worksheet and then send you the link afterwards so you have your own copy. Um, you'll see it in a few minutes. We'll talk about that. So if that's not going to work, that's weird. So you don't, over on the right-hand tab, you don't see the private chat then, huh? I wonder why that is. Let me just see something. All right. Well, never mind about that then. We'll get back to that. All right. So let me bring this up full screen. I'll get myself out of here. Let's just start with, I know many of you may know me. Some of you are even working with us or considering working with us. So, but my name is Casey Lewis. I'm the old man of our organization. as it says there, I've spent the last 40 years working in and around marketing, advertising, and business development. Um, you know, I go back probably before most of you to when there was no Google, there was no social media, there were no smartphones. We were doing things in the phone book and in the newspaper, and I was going door to door meeting with home service companies, pest control, and the like, selling them ads in the phone book. And I will tell you as we go through this, nothing's changed in terms of really getting new business other than the sources, the mode. So Google now is, is the big bad bear. It was once the AT&T phone book, Yellow Pages, and it's more complicated to get in there than just buying a couple of ads. So that's what we'll talk about a little bit today as well. I oversaw nationwide sales eventually for the Yellow Pages for AT&T, for Dex Media, and several other groups before they became YP.com, and then whatever they are now, Dex, but they've pretty much lapped into oblivion. That was one of the real true collapses in modern day. Hey, Sam, which organization were you actually with if you were with the Yellow Pages? So in Rhino Pest Control Marketing is a derivative of Rhino Digital Media Incorporated, which was originally Rhino Media, which was my wife's company, and it was a more traditional advertising agency back in the 90s. So we've evolved through that. Now, my kids all work with me. We've got lots of really highly skilled, very good people in really for one reason, and that's to help pest control owners grow. We chose pest control particularly because it's got recurring revenue. So as we go through this meeting, you'll see what I'm talking about. A pest control company can be set up very much like we are as a marketing agency, where you're billing monthly, you're providing services, you can grow that base, you can then retain that revenue year in and year out, start building your pyramid year by year. And that's what we'll talk about quite a bit here. So, in terms of dominating your market in 2026, and I'm having, I got to smile a little bit because that's been our statement from the very beginning, and now it's being borrowed by a lot of other organizations that are putting that in the things that they're putting out there. And so, I guess they say imitation is the most sincere form of flattery, so we'll take it. But what we really want you to understand, and you'll hear this from me throughout the course of this meeting, is you need a plan, you need to stick to it, and you need a backup plan. And so we really want to be able to design a quarter by quarter growth plan. It's still managed monthly, but really each quarter you're really taking a hard look at what did we do in Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, and in pest control, depending on what state you're in and what region of the country you're in. But for the most part, it's a seasonal situation. For example, Q3 and Q2 and 3 really should be the spike of your results for the year for most pest control. Sometimes those of you in Florida, you'll still have really good results as you go through Q4, but not so much, say, in Minnesota, for example. Okay. It's us, it's Rhino Pest Control Marketing. I told you a little bit about who we are. And then what I want to do is talk about what are we going to do here for the next few minutes. We really want to understand pest control marketing as it exists going into 2026. We want to clarify, and this is important for you, not for me, but for you. And this is part of what I want you to be able to come away from this meeting with, having these things written down in notes. And that is, what kind of a company do you want to be? And we'll define, well, what are your options? And then how to turn goals into leads. And that's going to be to establish your budget, your cost per lead, and then your cost per acquisition or sales acquisition costs. That's the nuts and bolts of what you need to know at a high level. How you get to the point of making that work in a way that is going to be profitable for you to grow and scale at the rate you want, that's another question we'll answer as we go. And then using a CRM, your software, and then now artificial intelligence as we move forward, supporting your growth in your business. These are the realities, and they're here, and you need to understand it. You're going to need to investigate it, because I know if you're like me, every single day you're going to be getting ads and emails and messages professing to have some AI new cool thing that you don't have to do anything. You turn it on, it's going to make you rich at night while you're sleeping, and come sign up for it. Just forget about all that. AI is in its infancy right now. We'll talk about some of the things that may or may not be important for you to be able to adapt and use in your business. But certainly, you don't want to just jump aboard what everybody's selling right now with AI promises. And then, what does a quarter by quarter 2026 plan look like using the worksheet? And we'll end this meeting talking about what's next. What we want to be able to do is to be able to get a group of you each month where we do pieces. We can then break this worksheet down into pieces individually. So, for example, maybe social media, maybe optimizing your website, maybe your Google business profile and how best to get listed in the top 3 in the maps pack, that kind of thing. We can break those down and continue throughout the year to help you grow and to understand what those things are that you need to do to grow. Now, let me give you an example of buyer personas. And this is something we won't talk a lot about here, but it's really important to understand that you understand who is the people that we want to deal with, or who are they? Um, do we want to deal with residential homeowners? Do we want to deal with commercial property managers? What are we really looking to do? And that's really important, excuse me, to understand. So for us, these are the 3 people we come in contact with quite a bit when we're um, going to be working with a pest control owner. The do it for me. So I want a partner. I just go do it, go run everything. And then you've got the person in the middle. I want to do it myself. I want you to maybe tell me what to do, but I'm going to go do everything. I'm going to do it all myself. And then we have the third, which is do it with me. We want a team. We want a clear plan. We want a partner. We want to help. And I think you can see there pretty easily, at least for us. And I would recommend to you that when you work with an individual, a marketing agency, a friend, whatever, it needs to be done in a way that, first of all, you're dealing with somebody that knows what they're doing and you can trust, but that can also explain to you what's happening so you can learn. What am I spending my money on? How can I tell if it's doing me any good? What are all of the options I have to divvy up my money in terms of growth expectations? So for us, it's obviously the third there. We have trouble when we're dealing with someone who wants to just do it for me. That's too much responsibility. We don't want that. We want to be able to work with someone, show them they don't have to do anything, but we want to show them. You think if you were treating um, a homeowner's house, and you want to be able to say to them, here's what we're doing. We're going to put granules in the low water thing. We're going to spray around the perimeter. We're doing this, we're doing that. And that's good. And that's good. You have that communication. They have that trust in you. But then if they want to walk around the perimeter with you, they want to see what you're doing, they want to understand every step of what you're doing, that's too much. So working on what we're going to talk about today here really needs to be about understanding and trusting the people you're working with, and then being able to ask them questions and or have them meet with you and show you, here's what's happening, here's what we're doing, here's what's really working successfully, here's where we're struggling a little bit, and we're going to need to make some changes. Does that make sense to you? Because I really want to hammer that one home. Let me know just here in the comments about whether or not that really makes sense to you, because one of the things we really hate here is when we get somebody that's been with another marketing agency that didn't do a good job and they come to us and we're sort of left with the baggage of that other company. It's kind of like getting that girlfriend that was in an abusive relationship, right? But I'm really a nice guy and I've never done anything like that to anybody in my life. But I'm going to pay the price for the jerk that was mean and a problem. So anyway, okay. So I got a couple of you answering me, and if you have any questions as we're going along, I can see these questions and comments rolling through, and I'll put it up and I'll stop and we can talk about this because I do want the information that we're going through here to be I want it to be useful to you. I want you to walk away with the ability to even consider a plan that you can put down together. So pest control marketing. So where are we today? So AI driven search and AI overviews right now are really important. Today, if you go and you do a variety of search queries on Google, you will get now what's referred to as an AI overview. And it will oftentimes have links to actual businesses. It will have good information. And it's interesting because it's pushing things down the page. And I will expect that this year is going to be very interesting to see where Google goes with this because it's starting to displace some of their own ads and even the map pack. So we'll see where this goes and how it's working. Right now, it's done in sort of a frequently asked question point of view. It's basically a knowledge base that's scraping the internet and finding relevant content, and it's placing it there. And hopefully, you're one of them. We are now have for the last few months now been adapting the way we're putting our content together specifically and moving away from more of a keyword driven content strategy into more of a content intent and behavior based strategy which more closely resembles frequently asked questions. So they ask, we answer. That's sort of the mantra. We want to make sure that if they're asking a question, that our website and we and our company have the domain authority to be relevant enough that we're going to then show up in AI overview as one of the answers in that local market. The local map pack and reviews still stand out to me. We have many different clients all over the country. Um, Most of them will do some pay-per-click or local service ads. And the map pack, if it's done well, and we're able to show up consistently in one of those three top spots, it will perform equal to or and sometimes even better than actual paid advertising. So it's that important. And those strategies and those things that we're doing need to dominate your thinking so that we get as much of that free stuff as we can. And why we'll show you in a little bit when we talk about, our blended lead cost, and the more free stuff we get, the better that lead cost looks. And then when we break it down into sort of categories, we got our SEO. That's going to be those things attached to our organic growth, one of which will be that AI overview. We've got Google ads, local service ads, and there can be more to that. There can be Yelp, there can be Nextdoor, there can even be, some people still use Angie, for example, but there's paid sources and then social media. If you want to use Facebook, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, I think are really the predominant sources. We've got a couple young guys that we're dealing with in a new company, and they're all excited about TikTok, and they're doing all sorts of TikTok videos, and they're that sort of silly 20-year-old version of a reel. And I think they're having a lot of fun. I like it, and I'm glad they're doing it. I'm not sure they're making a lot of money off of it, and there's some better ways we could do it with a YouTube channel and some optimized content. However, again, those are some of the things we can do. And then customers, the biggest change we've seen, excuse me, is that customers expect an instant response now, whether that's a phone call right now, a text, or a chat bot on your website. They're not, and I've seen this in our own metrics dramatically. They're not going to fill out a form and sit around and wait till tomorrow for someone to call them back. So even if they fill out a form, we need to be able to respond to that form response, in a matter of moments. And that's where some of the automation comes in. and some of those things. But you're in your brain, what you really need to be thinking about, excuse me, is that, and this is the way we put it with most of our customers, if we're not getting back to somebody within about 15 minutes, they're probably gone. They've probably gone to somebody else. So that needs to be the thinking, and it needs to be your team's thinking, in-house thinking. That's really what we want to do. And then what are those things that really still matter that we need to be paying close attention to? And that's always going to be your website. It's the central hub. You need to build a good website, and then you need to keep investing money in that website over time. We don't want to be just set and forget a website and hope for the best. It's a living, breathing thing. It's not a document. It's not a brochure. It's a catalog of pages that are indexed, that are reviewed by Google. They're given a grade. They're showing up in search, hopefully, if we've done enough. And there's a lot of strategies around how we are going to be able to convert and, excuse me, how we're going to be able to rank, bring in that traffic, and then convert it. Our local presence through Google Business Profile, through reviews, and through our NAP citations and links, backlinks, really important. Consistent content, frequently asked questions based, so we get that AI overview. That needs to be happening all the time. Content's going to revolve in pest control, really, I think, primarily around blog articles or articles in general that are posted judiciously. And then video. Video is one of those things that doesn't have to be hard anymore. You can invest about $300 in some very nice equipment. You can use your iPhone or your Android, whatever phone you have with a stick, and you can do some real fun videos. And if you ever want to talk about that, let me know. I'll give you some examples, and we can get that rolling. Where do we fit in, or an agency or a helper or a person? Well, we've got our own branded, what we call smart pest control websites. All that means is we know how to build a website that's optimized for pest control and for your area. We're going to do SEO and content for organic lead flow. We can manage your Google ads and Bing ads, your LSA, social media, Yelp, Nextdoor. So we're here to help make sure that these things that need to be being done are actually getting done. And we can work, as I showed you, based on who you are. I want to do everything myself. I want to work with you. I don't care what you're doing. We'll work within those confines of your personality, make sure that that's getting done. We're going to set up your CRM, your automation, set up some automated reports so that you can see kind of what's going on, and we can work together again as a team, and base that, generally speaking, around a quarter by quarter process. We're not going to disappear for 90 days. Anybody you're dealing with shouldn't. But anyway, so does that make sense? Are we tracking here? Am I talking too fast? Is this making sense to you? I know sometimes it's not always the best to just rattle on with all this stuff, but I do want all of you to get a sense of where I'm going with this. So good. I can see you guys are answering me. Does anybody have any questions right now? And before we get into a little bit more of sort of the number crunching and the planning aspects of what we're going to talk about today. And we're almost 30 minutes in, so we're almost we're rounding the halfway point. At this point, it's really been trying to set the stage. Any questions? Anybody want to ask anything yet? Okay, it doesn't look like it. All right, so let me get back to, let's see how I do this again. I'm just still learning this. So the StreamYard software is actually pretty cool. I watch a lot of guys do their YouTube channels, and I'm a 49er fan, and I like to watch a couple of these guys do their weekly reviews on the team and updates on injuries and that kind of thing. And they use this. They're obviously a lot better than I am at it. So we want to define who we want to be in 2026. And this is something I hope I can get you to answer this up there. And this is something we deal with a lot, and there tends to be a lot of confusion here. And I think it's because there's a lot of wishing and hoping and dreaming, but not so much a plan. So there's three kind here. you're slow and steady, very profitable. So we just want to keep moving along. We're doing a pretty good job. We're profitable and we want to keep it going. So slow and steady growth. We're sort of in the middle. We really want to add maybe 1 to 3 routes, and we want to grow a little bit more in terms of our territory. We want to expand to a couple other maybe communities or cities, whatever. And or the third one, we want to aggressively dominate markets. We want to add locations. We want to add routes, and we want to add technicians. We just want to go out and kill it here in 2026. So if I asked any of you, you know, if you looked at this in terms of A, B, and C, A being slow and steady, B being, we want to grow and we want to plan it out and add a couple of routes this year, or 3, we just want to go nuts. We want to get after it in every sense of the word. Where would you fall? Where would you guys fall? So I know really where I can sort of target what I'm talking about here. Okay, Mark says he's B. Israel says B. Keep it coming. I want to just understand here a little bit so that we can talk. And this is what you'll learn too. And there's another B. So everybody's about in the middle. And this is when we work with you, Melissa, Sam, everybody's in B. Okay, Ty. When we set up and help you create your pest control packages or programs, and you got A, B, and C, we can have, bronze, silver, gold, basic, pro, platinum, whatever it is. It's almost always B is where you're going to sell. Everybody's going to end up in B. So you always want to make B be the one that, generally speaking, is hopefully a little more profitable for you, easier to manage, and easier to sell. Taylor, Adrian, yeah, pretty much every. A couple of A's, that's good. Where depending on where you are, like Rachel, I know you guys are significant enough that A just is going to be good because you're already further along the line, and that also plays a role in this. Obviously, if you're startup, you might want to go with C. You want to just go nuts. It depends. And what we're going to look at here as we move through this is, okay, how do I figure that out? If none of us just have all the money that we need to do whatever we want, and so somewhere those things have to come together. So that's where we get into defining our goals. So how many active recurring customers do we want to grow by? Revenue and routes. Do we just want a money growth? Do we want to grow routes? And then what about net margin and EBITDA? We'll talk about that just quickly. I'm not going to get in deep in that. And then we want to know in terms of service areas, how many do we want? Which ones do we want to grow in? Do we want to expand into new territories? Now, I'm going to just do any of you, one, understand net margin and EBITDA, and or do you care? And the only reason I ask this is when you're really doing this, and this is planning your growth for a given year, understanding, well, what do we make when we go out on one call, one service call? I've got a technician. Great, Israel. I'm sending a technician. I've got a truck, and that truck's got tires and insurance and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So what I'm saying to you is there's a couple things going on here. And the main thing that's going on here is that you understand if you're not making money, why not? And if you're not making money because you are losing money every time you go out on a call, that is something that has got to get fixed, because no matter how fast you grow, if we're losing $10 on every service call, we're not pricing or we're not doing things correctly. So EBITDA is, who said that? Oh, Sam. So EBITDA really, if you see, can you see this slide? Let me get my face out of here. Oh, that's what I meant to do here. So EBITDA is what the business earns before loans, taxes, and accounting for trucks and equipment. So it's kind of like if I go out on a call, we earn $500. But then from that $500, I have to deduct all of those expenses, et cetera, that I know I have to pay in order to have that one technician on a route in city X delivering pest control service. Okay. Now, do so you guys don't, you can't get into the chat, huh? Mute. All right, let me look at this for a minute and see if I can. Let's just see for the heck of it if I can get this to you. And if I can't, well, I'll just do it. Oops, hang on. Okay, if any of you can open the link, go ahead and open it. I don't want to get too lost in this because I really want to do more of a demonstration in terms of what it actually is. Um, but so that's the actual link. I'll just leave that there for a minute. And I also have a Microsoft Excel spreadsheet of this worksheet that I can share with you, and you can use it and play with it. And I'm a numbers guy, and many of you who it opens to a doc of the link, but not the actual document. What it should do is open you up to a place where it says you have to make a copy. So if you're having any issues, let me look real quick here. And this is what I was a little bit worried about because I don't want it to create a problem. Okay. All right. So let's move on and we'll solve this as we get to the end. So this is actually what I'm looking at. Okay. And let me bring this up as big as I can get it. Oops, let me move myself out. I'm going to get this out. Let me get all this stuff out of here. Okay. Now, is this big enough so you guys can see it? So you said that link leads to a Google Sheet, not a doc. Let me see something. Did I send you the wrong one? All right, hang on one second. Just stick with me. Sorry, guys. This is, again, why I'm not per se an expert at this. Okay. Sorry. Okay, I'm going to drop this in the private chat, see if any of you guys can get it there. And then I'm also going to drop this in the comments and show this for just a second. Okay, so this should be the one that, that actually goes to the sheet that I should have sent you to begin with. And I'll just leave those there for a second. I apologize. Thought I knew what I was doing when I set up that sheet. And let's see, now it's going to say, I saw something here. Has to be an editor. All right. So I'm getting all these messages now that are coming in, and I'll okay those later. So let me get back to what I'm doing here because we've only got about 20 minutes left and I don't want to be keeping you here all day. So let me just show you, if you know how to use a spreadsheet, or in this case, a Google Sheets. And you're going to see that at the bottom, there's different locations on this, right? So there's budget, average cost per lead. There's a general marketing calendar with some offers we may want to make monthly, etc. So this is really a good place, and we've worked through this through the years. But this to me is the heart and soul right here. And I want you to watch this. Um, and again, I'm sorry, guys. I don't know why. Um, I don't know why that I'm not seeing where all those requests are going. Let me look at something real quick. Okay. Anyway, all right, let me get out of here, get back to where I was. But let's just say, so let me get back on track here. Why don't you guys, if we had to pick a number, not a percentage necessarily, but just a raw number, we want to grow by 100, 200, 500, $1 million this year. What would you say to me in terms of what that might look like? I'm going to give you guys a minute to do that. And while you're doing that, I'm going to just accept all. So I just accepted everybody for those worksheets that had requested it. So hopefully that will give you all your own worksheet. If I didn't do it right, we'll fix it later. Okay. So yeah, it is already set it changed to anyone with a link. So I'm not sure what is going on there. And so I kind of tried to update everything. Okay. Now, so in terms of money, there's a couple ways when you look at money, and this is to me the heart and soul of what this meeting's about today. And so I'll look at this and then first, and then you guys can go to your own and play around with it. And it will give you some really good information for yourself so that you're not listening to some marketing guy telling you, oh, you're going to need a budget of 100,000 or 50,000 or whatever. You can really take a look at this yourself. So that number, everybody, if let's pick a number. I've got 200,000 up here as a goal or as something I want to do. Does that sound good to everybody to use that number? I think you're all lost playing with your worksheets now. But let's use that number, okay? 200,000. And first thing I want you to understand, so if we go back to where I started, I'm working for you now, and you come to me and you hire me and you say, okay, Casey, your job now, you need to go grow the company by $200,000. Okay, that's great. First thing I have to decide, and you have to help me with, is retention. So if we go lose 10,000 or we go lose 20,000, my real goal is now 220. You understand what I'm saying? I've got to go cover and get us back to zero and then beyond. So always when you're looking at numbers, consider that. When you go to somebody that you're going to work with and you want them to grow the business, they've got to still cover what you've lost. So you need to know that number. But you see here, oops, I got to work down here. So you can see here, I've got 200. Let's just say, just so I can show you how this works, we change this to 250,000. Okay. And what you'll see is everything else will update. So what that's saying to me is now I know that I basically, if I'm going to grow the company by 250,000, that's 250,000 raw. That's, still would have to be more than that if I'm going to have a $20,000 deficit. But that means monthly, I'm going to be selling at or around $21,000 monthly if I'm going to achieve that $250,000 goal. And if I know that our average customer's value for an annual is about $500, that's telling me I need 42. That's pretty easy math, right? Basically, we're going to take 250,000, divide it by 12, and then we're going to say if we're selling them at $500, how many do we need? 42. This is the part right here that I want you to see. And if you listen to my podcast, you'll know that I am an absolute advocate on sales conversion. Okay. Why is that? So 40 to 50% is our target area. And if we know that we're going to put a fictitious number here, average cost generated, or average cost per lead, basically $75. And depending on where you are, that number can be as low as maybe $50. It can go as high as $120. And it's a blended rate, which I won't get into now. That's an all-in rate. That's not just your LSA or just your pay-per-click. It's also combining that with the leads you get organically and through Google Business Profile, through referrals, through reviews, through everything, okay? But you can see 40% means I'm closing 4 out of 10. So Rachel, it could be either. So the growth goal could be, yes, it's new business, and that new business can constitute a number of things. New revenue, it can be commercial. In your case, it could be, say, for example, fumigation versus residential GPC. So we can go deeper than this. This is more or less the concept to give you an understanding of how we want to break things down and then be able to achieve goals and then be able to manage and measure those goals, see are we getting there or not. More importantly, stick with it. Don't give up after a month because, oh my God, something didn't go great in January. That would work fantastic in July. So looking at this once again, so we're looking at 40% conversion rate, which is 4 out of 10, which is a good conversion rate. If we did that, in order to get those 42 sales, we're going to need 104 leads, okay? To get 104 leads at $75 a piece, it's going to cost us somewhere in the neighborhood of $7,800. And that $7,800 is just a number. It's not 7,800 of any one thing. It's everything all accumulated because we know, because we're doing 40%, we need 100 leads to get our goal of achieving $21,000 in monthly sales. And I hope that makes sense to you. This is a monthly number now. And this is what, now I'm working for you and we're having a meeting and I'm saying to you, boss, if you really want me to go out and do that, and I know that we're at this range, I'm going to need to achieve this. You're going to need to give me some money to go get this. Whether I use that on Google Ads, whether I use it on Nextdoor, whether I use it on Yelp, that's all irrelevant. And part of what the game is to mix and match that to determine what's bringing you the best return. Let me show you something. This is where things go haywire for us, for a marketing agency working together with any company. That's this number right here. Watch what happens if we find out, oops, you're only doing 12%. Now look at what the cost of our budget is to try to get that particular target with those numbers, with everything remains the same except one thing. We can't sell anything. And let's look at this and say, what if we're really good and we can do 60%? Look what happens there. Did you see that? So let me go back again. So 60% sales conversion, we're going to need a budget probably around 5,000, a little more than that. Call it 5 or 6,000. Okay. Watch what happens when I go down to 12%. Now it went to $26,000 budget because we can't sell anything. Now, this is where I get into who is it you have answering your phones? How well trained are they? And what are we doing with them? So Israel asks, let me see if this shows. Does it show? Yeah. Do you have bullet points list to drive conversion rates? Yes and no. So we have scripts, we have training, we record calls, we work with people on and off. And here's what I will say to you. Pest control is actually easy to sell if you're nice and friendly. It's actually pretty nice. I mean, pretty easy. It doesn't require a big, long, drawn out conversation about a lot of things. It's really pretty much what's your problem? Do you own the house? How big is it? And here's what I'm going to recommend we do to solve whatever that issue is. And we want that to be friendly and helpful and nice. We want to follow it up with automation. We want to do a lot of things. What I find is some people just can't do it. We have big problems with a client right now, and he's spending big money and getting great results from local service ads, from just some regular organic traffic and so forth. He's got a young lady answering the phones. And I'm in the very, very unfortunate situation, me and a member of our team, of having to work with them and say, look, she just can't do it. She just can't do it. And so it's illustrated right here. So $26,000 a month. Let's just say I don't want to do that. So I'm going to get this up to 60%. Now it's 5,000. That's a $20,000 swing. You don't think you can afford to hire somebody that's got a little better potential to sell? Again, this is this is real numbers. This is just math. Does that make sense to all of you? And I really want to hammer that home, because if in fact you get into what I call lead chasing, and you're here, you're at that point where you're doing 12 or 13%. And so you're chasing leads. The leads still cost $75 a piece. And you are, you think that I need more leads. No, your problem isn't more leads. Your problem is you need to learn what to do with them when you start. So Sam is asking, what if you're a very small pest control business with only 1 to 2 staff? You still have this issue. You still have to figure out who needs to be answering the phones and how are we going to do this so we can do better and provide better service, because you don't want to start chasing leads and then you're unable to be able to provide those sales. Sorry, I'm reading and talking at the same time. So the size of your staff doesn't really matter. And then that is where AI is now going to start to come into play, where you can use some AI tools. We use one now where it will actually answer the phone for you, answer some questions. You can even have it set an appointment, but that gets tough because now you're talking about integrating. So, and then Ryan's asking, is 40% the minimum you have? Not really. 30% can be an acceptable range where you're, for example, I can still show you that you're probably doing a good return. So you're making money, you're not losing money. And 30% would be a target to try to get to at a minimum basis. But you really want to get beyond 30 and get into that 40 to 60% range, because now you're really doing well. Now you can afford to go spend money to go chase leads because you're taking advantage of the majority of them that are coming in. Does that make sense, I hope? So you say, so then the person who answers the phone is that much more important, without question. Without question. One of the things we're even doing here is looking at partnering up with a few of our companies to do a virtual assistant sort of co-op where they can use that person to help manage the pipeline, because once things really start getting going, then the pipeline gets hard to manage. So I'm going to run through. This is the page I think you should play with, and this is going to answer, most of your questions right here in terms of your growth goal. And this is where the rubber meets the road, and this is where you're gonna know. And there, again, this is a fight that I've been in for years. You go into the corporate world, this is the fight that you have between sales and marketing. Marketing's leads suck, sales can't sell anything, and we go back and forth with that. So then Israel's asking, would you recommend splitting into rodent, termite, pest control? Since for us, rodent, yes, I would. And but let me tell you, first you need to start understanding and being able to work in this environment where you have growth goals. And these can each become campaigns, pipelines, you can call them whatever you want, but you can have one that's for rodents and exclusion work, termites and fumigation, then general pest control. You can even have general pest control commercial. Later today, I'm going to be talking with a client specifically on how to split that up. So yes, these can all be individual goals, individual campaigns, individual pipelines, even within your CRM. Then here, I'm going to go over this quickly because this needs to be really customized when we work with you. So let's just say our annual projected revenue. Let's just say now we know we're probably going to get, let's just say 500,000. Okay. So that's what we're going to end up billing with at the end of the year. And then if I flip back here, and I look at, and let's be a little more realistic. Let's just say that we know we can do about 35%. And so now, what did I do here? Oops. Oh, I know. 35%, not 35. Sorry. So I got 35%. So now I know I basically need about a $9,000 budget. So now we need to determine, well, is that realistic? And I go over here and I've got 500,000 is my projected annual revenue, give and take, even with new sales, everything going on. So now what percentage do I need to allocate of that revenue to get to the point to where I can afford to do the things I want to do for the growth goal I have? So in this case, I can adjust this number, and it looks like I'm going to need maybe 20 to 23% or so to have the average budget that I can give my new marketing guy, Casey, and say, okay, here's the budget you have to go get this done and go make it work. And so I'm looking at that. That's saying, okay, 23%, that's a lot of money. That's almost a quarter of all of our projected revenue of 115,000. We'll talk about what that means in a minute. Then I'm going to take a look at this, and I'm going to speed up because I don't want to get going too much longer. And then it becomes, this is allocated just equally throughout the year. We can change this so that when you look at the yellow and green, these are the peak months. I can allocate more of that budget to those months. And in January and February, November and December, a smaller portion of that budget. And then I can break down even, well, what's it going to go to? The marketing group, pay-per-click, LSA, social media, and other stuff. And you can see that there are different places to allocate that. And we can work with you on getting this set up so that it's done for you. And then to Israel's question, can you even help me do 4 of them? So one is for my general pest control, one is for my rodent work, one is for my termite work. The answer is yes. Absolutely. Especially if you're keeping your revenues isolated and you can look at your revenue and know what is what. And then moving again into, we talk about this blended average in your market and what people are paying for and what you have to pay for leads is, and however many of those we're using is going to then total you up at some point to a blended average, which means overall, this is what we're paying for a lead. And that's going to be very, very important for you, as you saw in that first area here over here. Knowing what that lead costs is very, very important to you to understand, well, how much budget do I have? Because if all of a sudden that lead cost goes to $120, it throws everything off. Okay. Our average new customer is $500, and our lifetime customer value is something we want to determine as we move forward, that we know we retain 90% of our customers, and those that we retain 90% of the time will stay with us about 3 years, so they can become worth $1,500 or so. And this will have a lot to do as you're building your pyramid and trying to get through that first year. You're just trying to get to that point to where we have 1,000 customers. We have 2,000, which is the magic number to get to $1 million. Now I've got monies that I know I'm going to be bringing forward, that I don't have to start from scratch, and I can continue to build on top of that. And I hope that makes sense to you, because that really is ultimately what we're trying to do. I also have in here for you, you can have a marketing calendar. There's some examples just to get you to think about what do we want to do month by month with our pay-per-click and local service ads, in terms of what of our emphasis, our emails and newsletters, social posting and ads, blog content and video, any of the display kind of stuff. So, Rachel, we can do that. I think I'm talking to you tomorrow. Remind me and bring it up, and we can absolutely do that. And then we have special promos and offers we can use for upsell, side sell, any of those kinds of things. Same thing here for special offers for pest control. This can get into anything. And this is really about just getting things down, not just, flying by the seat of your pants and doing things. So that's our worksheet. Okay. And I'm going to start getting rolling here, because I want more for respect for your time. I want to be able to get through all of this. And then goals. So leads needed equals new customers divided by your closing rate. That gives you your cost per lead. And then you can see on the example here, guys, we're using 30%. So that's going to tell us I want 600 customers. I'm closing at 30%. I need 2,000 leads. 2,000 leads is going to cost me X amount of dollars, and there's no way around it. It's not the marketing agency's fault. It's probably Google's fault, if anybody. A closing rate is nothing more than the percent of leads that become customers. So we get 10 calls, we close 3, we're at 30%. We get 10 calls, we close 6. And that's where you use a CRM, so you can manage that, monitor that. And then again, here's the number. So we get $8,000 divided by 200 leads. That means we're paying $40 per lead to get us where we want to go. Same thing with a customer acquisition. That's a simple, we want to total everything up. We want to divide it by the number of sales that we receive, and that's our sales acquisition cost. And that's very, very important, because today it's getting tougher and tougher to keep that under $200 to $300. And once you start getting above that, it gets hard to justify spending that much money to acquire a new customer. And then we need to get into areas of thinking. So even here, we went through the worksheet. I gave you a copy. If you didn't, just send me an email and I will. And then reading the gap, and this is important. And if we're working together and I'm coming to you and I'm saying, hey, boss, your goals are greater than what the budget supports. And this was typical in my days of negotiating a labor agreement or pay, is like the goals were always lofty, but the budget wasn't going to pay for it. Something's got to change. If your options would be a bigger budget, your options would be a better close rate, like we showed you. If it's 12%, we go to 40%, we can get more money without doing anything except paying closer attention to our sales and conversion rate. We may need to price our products higher. We may not be asking for enough. We may need better retention, and this can be a real issue. I found this in my final years working for Yellow Pages. These guys just couldn't believe that the Yellow Pages was actually losing customers and revenue, because it hadn't for 100 years. So they were in denial. We were in there trying to understand, what are we going to do? If the budget is greater than what you need, then hey, let's go get it. We can have fun. We can do wraps on our trucks. We can do cool things. And then I'm going to talk very quickly about a CRM. A CRM is only as good as your desire and commitment to manage it. And what it's going to do, it's going to keep all of your leads in a single place so you can see them, source everything, give it a fictitious value so you have an idea what you should be selling. Track, source, status, all of your outcomes. How many ended up in the one WON column versus the lost column? That becomes your sales conversion rate. So if I've got 50-50, I'm in great shape. If I've got 10-90, we need to do something. And then automate and follow up and reminders. There's nothing better to make sure everybody's getting handled within 10 to 15 minutes than automation, both internally and externally. Notifying the new prospect customer, hey, we got your information. We're going to get right back to you. We got your form fill. We got your text message. We got your phone call, whatever it is. We want to automate those responses and we want to train our team. It's not negotiable. You have to do this. And then you can see real numbers, no more guesses. We can have a dashboard that shows everything that's coming in there. We can show people and train them how to get the spam and the junk out so that you have real numbers and you can see what you and your team are doing. And a simple pest control pipeline would look something like this. These might be the stages. A new lead comes in, it's contacted and or it needs a follow-up. We send an estimator out to do an inspection or an estimate or wherever we call it. And then we do our proposal, whatever that looks like. That's to close the deal. And we either won it or we lost it. And that's it. And you don't want to make it real complicated. And within each one of those stages, we can set up and create automations to support moving it through that pipeline. This pipeline would be on a horizontal axis going like this. Does that make sense? And then this is going to get a little more complicated, and I'm going to need another workshop just for this. But we want to be able to integrate it with your software. So Field Routes, Gorilla Desk, PestPack, Jobber, House Call Pro, Brio Stack, whatever you're using, we want to try to eliminate redundancy because that gets people frustrated. And the goal always is you get a lead, we schedule a job, we have a new delighted recurring customer that's going to tell their friends and their neighbors, and we can track the lifetime value of those customers by their source. So quickly, using AI, don't get intoxicated by AI. You can't retire tomorrow and let AI run your business. You still have to do some work, but where can you start with it really? You can use it for after hours call handling, 24/7 chat on your website and your Google business profile. You can have automated follow-ups like we talked about, texts, emails, voicemail messages. All of that can be automated. It can support your content with frequently asked questions, blogs, ads. So there are great things that it can do for you. Just pump the brakes a little bit and let's work at it as we go through this year. So as I said, where do we start? Well, we can cover after-hour calls, weekends, and chat. We can reactivate old leads through some automation to see if we can get some back. We call it a win-back campaign. We can use AI to support follow-ups and reviews and to add frequently asked questions content to our website and to our blog articles and to the things we're doing to support AI overview. I'm talking as fast as I can if you can't tell. So where do you want to be in December? So here's your homework. And I'll reach out to all of you. I'll send a replay of this. You got the worksheet. If you don't, I'll send it. And let's meet again right after the first of the year here. And here's what you need to have written down, committed to, and in your hip pocket. And that's in 12 months. 12 months is too big to manage at once. So we want to have quarters that match the season and pest cycles, which are natural checkpoints to adjust, improve. But what we need from you to really do, to provide, is what is your new customer goals? What are they? And then what do you need in terms of leads and budget that you've been able to work out with the worksheet? And then what is your main marketing systems and focus? What do you want to do? And that's about as fast as I can go, guys, to finish up. Does high-level integration? Yes, it is. We can talk about integration later. It's very complicated. And when I say by that is the way that the feed works. And then Field Routes, unfortunately, is trying to make money on it. So we can talk about that. Remind me tomorrow, Rachel. But any questions as we finish up? How many of you actually made it to the end? Again, I tried to do too much. We've gone a little bit over, and I apologize for that. I didn't want to get this to go too long. But finish your worksheet with your team. Just finish it. Figure out where you think you want to be. Confirm your 26 goals and your quarterly roadmap. What is it we want to do in 26? What are our checkpoints to see if we're getting where we want to be? And what are we going to do? Decide on your implementation style. Once again, do you want to do it all by yourself? Do you want to have somebody just do it for you and we do nothing? Or do you want to work on it as a team? And have questions and answers available so that what we can do is take this and make it meaningful and not just a 90-minute waste. This is me, Casey Lewis. That's my email, casey@rhinopros.com. And I also have a meeting link. Yes, I will, Rachel. I'll get it to you as soon as I get off here. Matter of fact, I'll try to just send it to everybody to make sure it works. What I'll do, if you want to have a meeting with me also, I'm going to take a little bit of downtime. I'm going to go to Nashville and see my grandchildren. I think I'm out from the 22nd through the 2nd. But let's schedule some time. I can do it one-on-one. We can do it in small groups to take this to the next level. Any other questions? Anything before I check out here that I haven't answered? And as I said, what I'll do, excuse me, is I'll follow up. Thanks, Sam. I will follow up at the end here with a copy of those links to all of you. It will include the link so that you can, if you ever want to see this again, where you can review it. That takes a few minutes. When we're finished here, because this is going to be such a big file, it takes about 30, 40 minutes before it actually downloads. I'll get that to you. So I don't see any more questions. Are we done, guys? Are we good for this meeting? Thanks, Rachel. Here, I'll show that just in case anybody else wants to know that. We have great results working with the whole team at Rhino. That's us. So thanks for that, Rachel. I appreciate that very much. We enjoy working with you and your team as well. As a matter of fact, I'll finish this by saying one funny thing. We use your pipeline a lot of times to show other clients. And the reason for that, it's done so well and you manage it, which is hard to get. And what I've said oftentimes on my podcast is if you want to manage a pipeline and you might want to manage it well, get a woman to do it. Now, I don't know if I can say that nowadays, but I said it anyways. Women tend to manage pipelines better than men do. So anyway, all right. I'm going to step out then. As I always say at the end of my podcast, this is really to your success that we're trying to do this. God bless to all you. Have a great Christmas and holiday. And I'll invite all of you back when we can do a follow-up to this. I'll be sending you out the link. If you don't get it or anything happens, just reach out to me and let me know, and I'll get you whatever you need. Okay? That's it. I'm out of here. Take care, everybody.